Hi, welcome back to this Free-for-All Friday edition Focal Point AFR Talk. Got some great news. I tell you, every day we're fighting a winnable war. This World Magazine, an adult stem cell discovery that could save embryos from scientific research. Great news. Scientists have found a way. It's a breakthrough in stem cell research. It's good news for patients because of the potential for therapeutic use. It's good news for embryos because this approach to stem cell research does not require the destruction of embryos. Our researchers at Brigham and Women's Hospital in Boston have reprogrammed adult cells. Adult cells are not cells from adults, they're just mature cells. Have reprogrammed adult cells to act like embryonic stem cells, once touted as the future's cure-all for devastating diseases. Embryonic stem cells hype, and it's all hype because there's not one single therapeutic use from embryonic stem cells, but the idea is they were pluripotent. That term just means they could turn into anything. They could turn into any cell in the human body, and that was the reason they thought that's where the promise was be. If we need some kind of reparative cell therapy, we can get it from these pluripotent cells from embryos because they can turn into anything. They've never been able to make that work. They just produce tumors everywhere they are used. So people have been using adult cells very effectively, treating between 70 and 80 therapeutic conditions already right now. And now these researchers are saying, look, we can take adult stem cells, we can immerse them in a half-hour acid bath, and it turns them back into pluripotent cells. You don't have to destroy an embryo to get it. So all of the capacities are there. So that is very, very good news, a big breakthrough in stem cell research. Now, very quickly, I want to go to the call. Barry, hang on. I'm going to get to you right here in just a second, 888-589-8840. And I want to bring first Jeff. Now, we heard Roman. He says he's going with the Seahawks. Yeah. So I'm going to get Jeff, and then we're going to ask Wesley, and then we're going to ask Rob who you. And then I'm going to go last because this is kind of in descending order of football knowledge and skill and all that. And so that's why I'm bringing up the rear here. But Jeff, who do you think is going to?
Well,
is going to win?
I think that it could be the Seahawks if they can keep pressure on Manning. Problem is, if they get a couple quick touchdowns scored on them real quick, they're going to be out of their game, so it would be Denver at that point.
So if Denver gets up early, you think they could go on to win?
I think it will get the Seahawks out of their game. And by the way, Roman's video is on onenewsnow.com as well.
Very good. onenewsnow.com. You can catch Roman's video from the Super Bowl. Wesley, I've honorarily leapfrogged you over Rob. Rob's got time and grade, but we got to work the mic shuffle, so I'm giving you the next call on this, and then we'll go to Rob. Who do you pick in the Super Bowl?
All right, well, playing sports growing up, we always heard, well, offense wins games and defense wins championships. So by going by that, I would look at this and say that I'm hope I'm wrong here. Seahawks are going to win. I'm picking them to win, but I'm a Peyton Manning fan, and I'm pulling for the Broncos.
All right, let's bring Rob in if we can. The guru. Rob's actually played the game his own self, walk on at Ole Miss. So, Rob, talk to us. Who do you think is going to win?
Well, let's just say I've got to go with Peyton and the Broncos. And I think that, defense wins championships. They won their championship. That was the NFL side. I think Peyton Manning is going to blister them. I think he's just going to wear them out.
All right. Okay, I appreciate that. And my call is I just think, the Niners have played the Seahawks 3 times this year, and their defense is just brutal. They have a brutal defense, especially against the run. And, of course, the Broncos primarily a passing team with Peyton Manning. But it's just hard for me to see the Broncos being able to rack up a lot of offense, even with Peyton pulling the trigger with that defense. So I'm kind of exactly where you are, Wesley. I think I'm pulling for Peyton. I'd love to see him win. I think a lot of people would like to see him get that second ring. But I just think the Seahawks just have too much defense for the Broncos. I
think you're just saying that because they beat the 49ers.
Maybe so.
You want to see them win.
Yeah, but I saw why they beat the 49ers, and that's the thing that got my attention. All right, so, and Jeff, I mean, that was sophisticated NFL analysis, ladies and gentlemen, from Jeff Reed, our own producer. They get up early, they're going to win. I mean, that's pretty sophisticated analysis right there. You're not going to get that anywhere else but right here on Focal Point. What's that?
Fence walking.
Oh, because they use the word if there qualifies it? Yeah. Yeah, I guess anybody could say that. Hey, if the Seahawks get up by 3 touchdowns in the first quarter, I think they're going to win. So anyway. Okay, well, those are our Super Bowl calls. Let's go to the phones, 888-589-8840, number to call. Let's go to Barry in Waco, Georgia. Barry, welcome. What's on your mind?
Hey, Brian. Thank you for taking my call.
Yes, sir.
And I probably will get too upset, but I'm going to try to go over a few things. And our Republican elite, and I'll start with France Priebus, you know, I don't know. I grow more frustrated with Priebus and the other elites up there, Cantor and Boehner and Karl Rove. And, you know, it was only a year ago, March, that Priebus was telling, I guess, Christian conservatives not to go Old Testament, you know, about same-sex marriage, and kind of scolding those that believe in traditional marriage.
Mm-hmm.
And then on the immigration issue and jobs, Republicans have been helping get rid of job opportunities, and we wouldn't have to worry about a minimum wage if we would enforce our borders. The wages would come up normally. And we've also sent all of our manufacturing plants to communist countries that use slave labor, and this started under George H. Bush, the first one, continued under Bill Clinton, Newt Gingrich, accelerated under George W. Bush. And, you know, I've been a Republican since Reagan, even though I live in Georgia. And, you know, when George H. Bush, he was the first person I remember saying the New World Order. And, you know, I'm at a point, I'm not going to support another Mitt Romney or John McCain. You know, I'm going to have a conservative, or I just won't full believer, you know. Well,
you know, I cannot tell you, Barry, how many times I hear that and from how many people I hear that. I share your concerns about Reince Priebus. I mean, the way he jumped on Dave Agema, who is simply trying to defend the Republican Party platform and raise concerns about the normalization of homosexuality, raise concerns about the threat that Islam poses, and to see Reince Priebus kind of lead this vigilante charge to expel him from the party, you know, then it makes you wonder, okay, well, what does Reince Priebus really believe about these issues, about the homosexual agenda, about marriage, about Islam? What does he believe? In fact, you know, Barry, talking about some of the other things you were talking about, I have a hard time today identifying what the Republican Party actually stands for. I mean, I honestly cannot find anything that the Republican Party stands for. You know, you'd think it might be fiscal conservatism, but then we talked, I mean, the Farm Bill, they passed the Farm Bill with a measly 1% cut over 10 years in that thing. They won't do anything serious about the deficit. They won't do anything about the debt ceiling. They're not going to do anything about federal spending. So even on the one thing where they would say they're kind of carrying the conservative banner, I'm just not seeing anything there. And I think a lot of people, Barry, and I'll give you the last word here in a second, I just think a lot of people are where you're at, Barry. Republican Party, I like their platform, but I don't like their politicians because they're not sticking up for their own platform. And so it's kind of tough to follow them, tough to be enthused about them when they don't seem to be sending any kind of signals to the American people about what they believe and what they're willing to stand for. Last word.
Okay, thank you so much. One other thing, you know, when you go back and look at what the Republican Party did to Todd Akins, Richard Murdoch, and more recently, Ken Cuccinelli. I don't know why I've learned that name, but but I mean, you know, they will not support, I would say, Christian conservatives. And I am a lifelong Southern Baptist, and I am not even happy with Russell Moore and the ERLC. And when I try to talk to even Southern Baptist ministers about this, they don't even know there's anything going on in the Southern Baptist Convention as far as pushing immigration.
Yeah, and Russell Moore has been one of the leading voices, the ERLC. And again, I'm not criticizing them as an organization. I'm not criticizing Russell Moore. People have to make up their own mind about this. But Russell Moore is right now one of the leading advocates for amnesty. And he represents the second largest denomination in the country. I do not think that Russell Moore is speaking for evangelicals when he advocates amnesty. I mean, I'm hearing from you, Barry. You're a Christian. You're an evangelical. You're a Southern Baptist. He doesn't represent your convictions on the issue of amnesty. And there may be a lot of Southern Baptists that just don't realize that the voice of the Southern Baptist Convention in public policy is pushing. Russell Moore is a fine guy. I'm not criticizing him personally. He's a fine guy, but I just disagree with him on this issue of amnesty. And I disagree with him that his position on amnesty represents a biblical or evangelical point of view. And I just wonder, how many in the Southern Baptist Convention are even aware that the individual who's representing them kind of in the arena of political discourse is a supporter of amnesty. Anyway, any last thing you want to add, Barry?
Yeah, and I do appreciate you giving me so much time. One last thing on Russell Moore. He says that our immigration system is broken when he fixes it. What's broken is that we're not enforcing our immigration laws.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I appreciate it, Barry. I gotta cut you loose because we're up against a hard break here, but I appreciate your call, Barry. And the last thing that Barry said, I think, is exactly right. Immigration reform, to me, we don't need new laws. The laws that we have are fine. The laws that we have are good. The laws that we have are just. All we need is somebody who will enforce them. That's what we need. We don't need immigration reform. We need immigration enforcement. And one of the reasons I think it's folly for the Republicans to think about any new legislation when it comes to immigration is what possible reason do we have to think that President Obama would actually enforce any new laws any better than he's enforced the old ones? 888-589-8840. Be right back. Focal Bar Talk.